All right. So this assignment is going to take place over 2 days. So today and Monday. And this article connects with the text that we are reading, A Long Walk to Water. And it discusses the Dinka and the Nuer tribe. So if you remember from the text that Salva is a part of the Dinka tribe, and Naya or Nia, she's in the Nuer tribe, and we learned about that just recently. So we're going to look at the first three paragraphs today, and we will be answering some questions and identifying the gist. So I will read the paragraph aloud, give you time to look at the question and come up with the response to the question. We'll discuss it, and I want you to type it on your screen, and I will also type it on my screen. All right. So it says, they are the Dinka and the Nuer, the largest tribe in southern Sudan. Both greet the dawn by singing. Both live in square huts with round, uneven roofs. Both walk the roadless plains split by the White Nile, and both honor their scrawny, hump-backed cattle as the center of the temporal world, at once wealth on the hoof of a mystical link to the spiritual plane. Okay, so our first question, question A, it says read paragraph 1, and they ask, what does the word both refer to? And why does the author use the word both 4 times? So take a moment, think about that. You can type out your response, and then we will discuss the response. All right, so what does the word both refer to? Carlos?
Cinco in yours. I'm not sure.
Nuer, yes. All right. And why do you think the author uses the word both 4 times? Let's go, Yanzi. We'll go with this.
To compare both.
Right. The author is comparing both tribes. And to show how they are similar to each other. All right, so if you don't have that, go ahead and type that down. And then so what do you think the word temporal might mean? Go
Does it
ahead.
mean like a limit of time?
Right, so you said a limited.
Limited time.
Okay, so a limited time. What made you think that or come up with that definition?
Because when I hear about temporary, it's like if I go to if I borrow something, right, and it's
Uh-huh.
got a break, somebody's gonna say, "Oh, it's a temporary time." It's a tool,
Right. So,
and it's like temporary world. It's like the world's not gonna end forever. Someday it's gonna be destroyed,
right.
right?
Great job. So, temporal comes from the word temporary, which means for a limited time. And then also, if you look at the text right after that, after it says temporal world, it says at once. So that meaning at one time it was this way, but now, it's not. So good job. All right. The next part of paragraph one, up underneath it, it says, what is the gist of this paragraph? So for those of you who haven't been with me, the gist is what is this paragraph mostly talking about? So go ahead, take a second, about 30 seconds, reread the paragraph, and then type in your response. What do you think this paragraph is mostly about? And then we'll share out.
Was after that both tribes had the same life.
Okay. So this paragraph discusses how both the Dinka and Nuer have the
They have a
a similar, yeah,
similar culture, and they are the two largest tribes to the southern extent there.
yeah. So they're similar,
Yeah.
but now we're going to learn about why they don't like each other. Alrighty. So I'm gonna a couple more seconds to finish that up, and then we'll move on to the next paragraph. I am going to go ahead and read paragraph two. You can go ahead and follow along. The Nuer word for thousand means lost in the forest, because that's where your cattle would be if you had that many of them. Almost no one does, however, in no small part because Dinka and Nuer have been stealing cattle from each other as long as anyone can remember. Cattle raiding is an Ori tradition of pastoralists throughout East Africa, as natural here as a young man's hungering for enough cows to pay the bride price for a wife, as normal as a neighbor striking the intruders he sees hogging prime grazing land. All right, so our question C, asks, well, wants you to look at the last sentence in paragraph two. So it's a part that starts with cattle. So reread that sentence and explain it in your own words. So take some time, reread it, and then explain it in your own words, and we will discuss it. All right. So what is this last sentence? Who can explain this last sentence in their own words? Go ahead,
Does
Carlos.
it does it mean like as a young man that wants to rob a cow, they're trying to trade it for a woman that they really love? It's like a father. You know how there's like a trading thing, like a cow trade for their daughter.
Right. So it's a tradition. So stealing cows or cattle was a tradition. So like the more cattle you had, it showed like the more wealth that you had. So if you remember, I forget which chapter, two or three, in A Long Walk to Water, it talked about how Salva's father had his many wives, because he was wealthy. He had cattle. So you take the cattle in order to purchase a bride. So that's why they were stealing these cattle, you know, and it was just as for their brides. So that was a common tradition that they had. So my response that I will write down, if it'll type, there we go, was so cattle stealing was a common tradition. The cattle were used to pay for brides.
Stealing cows from each other.
It's not typing. Hmm. All right. So that's basically what this is about, and then it gives you the reasons, why they would steal the cattle from each other.
Oh, you want the one
Oh,
too?
oh no, I was just saying, it tells you why, but it's what this paragraph was mostly about, just talking about how they steal the cattle from each other. All right, and now we're going to look at paragraph 3. All right. All right. So it says, if people died in these raids, it was maybe 1, 2, or 3, said Madhu. And the victims were almost always warriors, slain with the spears that were still the weapons of choice in southern Sudan in 1983, when the war against the Arab North entered its current phase. That year, the Khartoum government imposed Islamic laws on the entire country, including the parts that were not Muslim, like the South, where people mostly adhere to traditional beliefs or Christianity. Rebellious Southerners formed the Sudanese People's Liberation Army, and young Dinka and Nuer began to carry AK-47s. All right, so question D says in paragraph 3, what does the word phase mean? When did things begin to change? So here is the word phase. Take a moment, think about what the word phase means, and when did things begin to change? All right, so what do we think the word phase means?
A group stands together, right?
To what?
A group stands together. Or no?
No.
Or is it like changing?
Like a time, like a certain.
Period.
Right, a time or a period. All right, so phase is a time or a period. Like it doesn't last, a long time. And so when did this phase or these things begin to change?
You said when?
Yes.
In 1983.
All right.
Sudan, the South Sudan.
So 1983, things began to change. And how did they change?
Was it when the war against the Ivory Morse into the Sudan? How you say the K? Current one?
I pronounce it
So the government
cartoon.
imposed salon laws on the entire country.
Right. So it changed or began to change when they started having these laws imposed, on on their country or their part of the country. And so they went from killing or having war with what weapon at the beginning? What changed?
Spears
Right. And it changed from spears to what?
to weapons.
To AK-47s. Right. So they started carrying guns. All right. So the last part of paragraph 3, what is the gist of this paragraph? So what is this paragraph mostly about? Take a moment, type out what you think the paragraph is mostly about, and we will share that response. All right. So what is this paragraph mostly about? Go ahead, Yancy.
Like the phase they went through, like how they changed weapons.
Okay.
The Peruvian government changed the laws on the entire country.
With the change of religion.
Yeah, they changed religion.
And use of weapons. All right. You put that in blue so you can see that. All right, give you a moment to type that out. All right, so what we're doing here, we are looking at the perspectives of the Dinka and the Nuer tribes. And so our question in red asks, what are some similar and different perspectives, so the way in which they view the world or how they see things, of people in the Nuer and Dinka tribes? So this is kind of similar to what we were doing with A Long Walk to Water when we were looking at Naya and Salva. So we have our detailed evidence. So we have our quote, like a similarity or a difference, which paragraph it came from. So right now we're only looking at paragraphs 1, 2, or 3. And then your inference or reasoning about the quote. So what this shows about how culture, time, or place influenced the Nuer or Dinka's identity. I need to space in here. Okay. So the first one is done for you. So let's go ahead and look at that. It says the quote that was selected, both walk the roadless plain split by the White Nile. So that came from paragraph 1. And this quote shows that both tribes take regular journeys on paths, not roads. They both tolerate a difficult environment. So this kind of falls in line with the environment and place being the same thing. Okay. So let's look at the second one. The quote that is selected, Dinka and Nuer have been stealing cattle from each other for as long as anyone can remember. This comes from paragraph 2. And so give you a sentence starter. This quote shows that both tribes, so you have a choice here. You can talk about Dinka, Nuer, or both. So this one shows that both tribes what? Take a moment, think about that, type it in, and then we'll share your responses. So what does this quote tell you about both tribes? All right. Somebody willing to share their response? Go ahead, Carlos.
This quote shows that both tribes stole cows from each other for many years.
So this quote shows that both tribes steal cows from each other, and they have been doing this for many years. So would you put that under time, place, or culture? How would you describe that one? So we have our question up here, like what this shows about how culture, time, or place influence the Nuer or Dinka's
So
identity.
it's Southern Sudan, I guess. That's the
So,
first text.
let's just think about the quote uh, that you said that it's something that they have been doing for many years.
Yeah.
So, would that fit under culture, time, or place? If it's like a
It's
tradition.
like culture, I guess.
Yes. So this shows culture. It's a tradition that they've been doing.
Couldn't they go by both though? By time too?
Well, I would have to try to sit and come up with a good argument as to why it would be time. But for now, it's a culture because it's a traditional thing and it's something that both tribes do to each other. And we're not saying that one tribe is good and the other tribe is bad because they're both doing the same thing. So it's just a cultural thing. It's what they've been doing for years. All right. And then let's look. So at the next one, it says cattle raiding is an Ori or old or ancient tradition of pastoralists throughout East Africa.
What's the pros?
A farmer.
The former.
Mm-hmm. So what I would like for you to do, go back and find the paragraph. So you have to go back up to the first page that this came from and write what paragraph it came from and who is it applying to. Is it applying to the Dinka, Nuer, or both tribes?
So it's on paragraph 2.
All right, so this is still paragraph 2. And are they talking about the Dinka, Nuer, or both?
Both.
All right.
I think it's like the both tribes, like they throughout East Africa, they farm cattle. That's what I think.
So this quote refers to both tribes in East Africa and how
Where they farm.
they just stole cows from farmers.
Oh, okay.
All right. Take a moment, get that down, and then we'll do our very last. Okay. So which paragraph does this quote come from? The victims were almost always warriors.
3.
Okay. And who are they discussing? Dinka, Nuer, or both?
I think both.
Mm-hmm. Is referring to both tribes because why?
Because the victims were always warriors. It's like the victims are like they're brave soldiers or something like that. The warriors.
So because the Dinka and the Nuer were the ones who were fighting each other.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put warriors in quotes. Okay. All right, so we will stop there for today. I'll give you a moment to type that up. And on Monday, we're going to look at Excerpt 2, so the second part of this. And we'll be doing the same thing again on Monday. Okay? So go ahead and, finish typing. And then once you're done, you can wrap up. And if you have math, you can get ready for math. Or if you don't have math, you can do it whatever it is that you were going to do.